is Charity Heart.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we can't tell you what Charity Heart is yet exactly. Those announcements are coming, we do promise. But today, in the waning hours that exist before Brendan Lee Mulligan goes back to Exandria to bring emotional turmoil to all of his friends, with Divergence tonight, don't miss that, 7 p.m. Pacific over on the Critical Role channel. We're here with Darrington Press with a couple of incredible devs to talk about that big announcement that came earlier this week.
Yes.
A big old juicy announcement. Let's find out who they are and then we'll talk about it. Spenser, Rowan, you want to introduce yourselves?
There we go. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Spenser Starke.
I'm Rowan Hall.
Yeah, we're the game devs for Daggerheart. So we've been like in the thank you, Mags. Mags is behind the camera. We are just in our we're in our dev office where we normally rolled. The camera is on the table where we play test all of our games. Yeah. So we have these weird what are these? They look like beach balls,
lanterns.
Beach ball lanterns that we found,
which we fully found on the floor in the office.
On the floor in here. Yeah. We don't know where they came from, but we're using them today. But we're so excited to have both of you here and to chat about Daggerheart because obviously this has been in the works for us for so long, and to be able to finally talk to the world.
You guys walked into Gremlin mode. The whole everything was in Gremlin writer make game mode, and you guys came in and were like, "Oh no, we have to be people again."
I know. We're fine. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we can share this one. You guys can share that one.
Yeah, for sure. So we are very excited to be here with you live from a location that exists outside of time and space, and what isn't outside of time and space, but has been for a while.
Yeah.
It was even when I purchased the box over there that we are going to pull in. We are going to go through the deluxe edition on this in a minute, which is very exciting because I've paid for it already and I want to get my hands on it.
Unfortunately, that's not your copy.
Oh, trust me. No, I want a clean one.
Yeah.
I know Spencer's played that too many times.
My sweaty hands are all over that thing.
Just all the hair gel that you use to keep
Yeah, it's all smeared all over the box, 100%.
It's really gravity-defying. I gotta give you
I'm
props for it.
doing my best,
It's
We got the major announcement that coming in my favorite month of the year because of its connection to...
Birthday?
Yes. Is May 20th your literal birthday?
No, it's the 28th, but it's my birthday month.
Oh my God.
Claim it.
I'm April 28th and my sister's May 28th. Yeah, crazy.
Hey, your sister.
I just doxed my sister. That's fine. Yeah.
No,
she's not online. Her kids watch VHSs. She
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's
because May 28th people are really cool.
Yeah. She's trying to keep them away from the internet as long as possible. So they have a little TV with a built-in VHS player to watch old Disney movies. Anyway, May 20th, that date I brought up is when we are going to see the worldwide release of Daggerheart.
Hell yeah.
That's right. This game, much lauded, much played. So many beta tests. Finally coming out. How you guys feeling?
Overwhelmed, but the second other people have copies of it, I think I'm just gonna fall to the floor in tears, honestly. Mm-hmm. It's been a minute and I'm so excited to have people have it at their table with all of the parts and pieces because everybody's been so kind playing it off of Google Docs and getting in the trenches with us and giving us notes, and I'm I really want people to see their notes applied, that we really listened and we tried to implement as much as we possibly could, and then have that at their table and kind of feel some of that with us.
Yeah, I think one of the unique things about the open beta was that I'd been working on this for years before it was even public, right? And then we got a team involved, and then the whole team was working on it, and then it became public during the open beta, but you were looking at basically my notes doc turned into a collective Google Notes, Google Doc that was our notes that was then transformed into some semblance of a rule book to say do you guys like this thing, right? and so to go from that to a book like that where it's fully realized with beautiful art and it still feels it still feels surreal, and I'm just very thankful that it gets to be in people's hands, because I think one of the things that we talk about with games a lot is especially tabletop role-playing games, they don't exist in the world unless people are playing them in some respect. Like they require engagement from others in order to like because the book is not the game.
Yeah.
Right. The cards are not the game. It's like just like a computer manual. It's not the computer. Right.
Yeah.
Like the game is what comes out of the interpretation of the rules by a GM and players. And so unlike something like a novel where I'm like, oh yeah, that exists and it's on a shelf and it exists in like fully formed fashion as it is, we are providing the scaffolding for other people to go and make things. And those things that they make, those are the thing that like we're in conversation with the audience in creating together. So that is a long-winded way of saying like, I'm very excited. And also it's been such a long road to get there that it feels surreal.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, Rowan, that you bring up the notes process, because we had at one point on the channel did a weekly, like we were going to do like a weekly discussing Daggerheart show.
Yeah.
Like that was a
Like
plan. When the first beta test came out, we played it a couple times on our channel.
Yeah.
We did like a level 2 one shot, and then we did a level 10 one shot.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Specifically, especially for that level 10 one shot. Because playing at higher levels is really important, and it's the hardest part.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there was one comment on it where it was so funny. Someone was like, well, this just proves that like the combat in this game is going to be a slog. And I was like, the game came out 3 weeks ago and we're playing the highest level. I was like, what do you mean? We're like literally like, it's a slog because we're reading rules. We don't know how to, it was just such a weird, like the audience expectation is so fast now. And I was like, guys, we didn't make the game. Right. We literally got a Google document and we're reading it to you as we're playing.
We spent like an hour cutting out cards. Yeah. Like we had all the paper
You guys
cards.
are the best.
Yeah, it was so fun.
We went down to the Staples. But so we started talking about Daggerheart Weekly. Yeah. And we were like, oh, we're going to go like 2 classes each week. And so we're going to read all their cards and talk about all their abilities. And then I think we got 2 of those videos out.
2 videos.
And then 1.2 came out and it was like a completely different game. And we were like, well, those videos they're still getting views weirdly, but they're so outdated. Yeah. They've got minor thresholds. They've got all the kinds of things that you guys have cut from the game. We're going to talk a lot about what the game is now, but I think one of the things that I've really enjoyed is watching the process. I want to know, what was the hardest thing for you guys to cut out of the game in the beta process?
I need you to tell the story of armor.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Okay. So we could talk about armor. So there were lots of things that went by the wayside and were replaced and changed and stuff. But the one that I was like, it was the bane of my existence for so.
Spenser in the ground.
Seriously, I was almost dead. No joke. I think Rowan found me in the office one day, just like sitting in a corner, banging my head against the wall, going like, "There has to be a better way."
That's not hyperbole.
Yeah.
He was sitting against a wall, like with his head against it,
in tears.
No cards scattered around him on the floor. I was like, "Hey, buddy, you good? We're gonna start with some water, and then we'll proceed from there."
Was not okay. Well, I think for context too, as we jump into this, because I think it's a great question, and I want to talk about armor because it's the thing that changed a lot along with the action tracker in the final version. But one of the challenges that we faced was that we had like a 4-month period of dev that was open beta where we could get feedback, and so in that time, we knew we had to take full advantage of the opportunity that we had, that people were going to be actively reading this thing, right?
Iterate as fast as humanly possible, which meant getting the notes, synthesizing the notes, and then getting the notes back out while we were also building parts of the game that folks hadn't seen, not because we didn't want to release it with beta test, but because we came up with it in the middle of the beta test.
Yeah, and so like we were basically on like a 3-week cycle where we would get notes back from the first couple days of playtests, and then continue to collect, and like we would then take those notes and start to apply them. Like actually, I should back up. So like 1.2 came out, and the things that we addressed in 1.2 were things that we wanted to have in the 1.3 is actually the one that came out, because 1.1 was the one that went out to closed betas.
Yes.
And then 1.2 was the open beta. Yeah. And then 1.3 was the one that dropped like the month, like 3 or 4 weeks after we dropped the first one. And so to clarify, like we were working on changes that we wanted to see in 1.3 when 1.2 had dropped. So we were basically a week ahead of everything. Or no, we had a cycle ahead. Right. So like when you were seeing 1.3, we were already working on 1.5, like, because the way we had to collect notes and then continue. So all of that is to say, like, it was a sprint to get the most amount of data we could in the time that we had. And we were also always operating in like a 3-week batch, where then we would have to spend a week flowing all of the changes down into the like sheets and getting all of the cards updated and making sure that all of like the proofing was done as little as we were doing on that. We were like, hey, if it's wrong, it's wrong. But like we were doing our best. So I think that one of the things about Armor was like we were constantly iterating over and over and over. And that was the one where I was like, at lower levels, it works. And at higher levels, when you're subtracting, when you're trying to do like 13, I'm spending 4 armor slots, so 13 4 times, and then subtract that from 68 damage coming in. That's where like our brains started to break.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I've watched, I have seen every episode of Critical Role, which means I've seen them do a lot of math.
Yeah.
And I love the cast so much.
Yeah.
But reverse math is a joke for a reason in the community.
Yes.
And I do think that there was an element, even when we were playing like the first one, where you're almost like stopping the game to do math.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's an element of as the game kind of got not smoothed out, but built out.
I think it did get smoothed out.
Yeah.
I think it did. Yeah.
So we are getting the note to move on to session 0. That's what we're here to talk about.
We can talk about everything forever.
We can talk about everything
direct
forever.
us where you want us.
We were very lucky to get to watch you live run a session 0, Spenser, when we came to the Candela live show at the Beacon here in Hollywood. Incredible show. The session 0 was so special. We did not know that we weren't allowed to leave in between, because we had planned to like go to the session 0, then leave and have dinner and then come back.
We didn't like eat from like, I think it was like 3 o'clock, and we're like, oh, we'll get food in between. So we didn't eat from like 3 till like 11:30 p.m.
Yeah. So it's fine. They served popcorn. It was a real great dinner. Our downtown Los Angeles dinner. But session 0 is such an important part. And I love in the modern era of, online gaming, people are sharing more and more about how to session 0 and the value of a session 0. And so we wanted to know, like, what are your ethoses around a session 0? Why do you think it's important? And what do you think is different about a Daggerheart session 0 than maybe another game?
That's so many good questions. It's interesting. Speaking of Candela and the session 0, I think one of the things that we learned is the most, I think I'm going to say it, the most important part of the session 0 in our personal play are the connection questions, because you're going into a horror game. It doesn't matter if people die if you don't care about them. And so creating a circle where everyone has specific and powerful relationships with one another is a really fast way and a really profound way, I think, potentially, to make the horror matter. So going into Daggerheart, even though it's a very different game that plays very differently, I think you can see the DNA of those connection questions. You can see the influences we're wearing very much on our sleeve of games that we love that have similar elements. But one of the things that I've found allows Daggerheart to be easy to pick up is a lot of the character building is based on questions. It's like, if this, then that. If you were your character was kicked out of their hometown, what caused that, and how do you feel about it now? There's a really fast in. You have to answer one question, and now you're like, okay, I know who my character is. It's not about memorizing pages and pages and pages. That's kind of like baby girl for me.
Yeah, I think session 0s for me are really important because they align the table on tone, on approach. Like we were playing in a game yesterday, not Daggerheart, because we love playing all kinds of games, but we were playing a game yesterday, and we were doing all the prep virtually, and we were like, we need to figure out what our tone is, because it was a one shot. We're like, we have to figure out what our tone is because we don't even know how to name our characters appropriately, right? Because you have like Bodie McBoaterface, and then you have like Sir John the 17th, right?
That's my grandfather.
Yes, great, love it. Based on your grandfather, but like, if you want it to feel, if you're just doing a like throwaway thing, maybe it's not that big of a deal. But if you're really trying to like hone in on what makes a great story and what makes a cohesive story and how to bring everybody to the table together, like a session 0 is how you align that. And so in Daggerheart, we do a lot of we have a lot of guidance in the session 0 for like, hey, talk about tone and feel. Talk about what your inspirations are. We have campaign frames that we want to talk about.
Can't wait for people to get campaign frames.
I know. I can't either. And I can't wait to see what people make, what kind of campaign frames people make, and what they're playing a lot, and all those kinds of things. Because really, that's like saying, hey, what are the touchstones that all of us are interested in? How do we use that as guidance for the way that we build these characters, right? And so I also think that one of the things that I found to be really important to Daggerheart, and that I carry through to any game that I run now, is allowing the players to be involved in the world building in some way. Because even if it's little stuff, even if you as a GM like have a whole world that you have built and you want the players to play in that world, allowing your players to come in and have an influence over even small pieces makes them buy in a lot easier than it would be if you're like, I'm just dictating everything to you.
Yeah.
What does their armor what does this person's armor look like that you run into, right? Like, that's not really going to impact the world in a huge way, but then that person is describing somebody and now they are bought into that NPC.
Well, I think you can see it all over Daggerheart. There is kind of an ethos of it is everybody at the table's job to make sure we tell this story.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to sand off the edges as we go. And we're going to have moments that maybe we retcon a little bit and moments where one person leads and some person takes the back seat. But I think my great fear as a GM and for GMs is when you roll up and you have this really amazing idea and it's hard to get that buy-in because people weren't there when it was created and maybe that wasn't exactly what they signed up for. And so in campaign frames, in parts of Daggerheart, we're saying, players, we're all signing up at the base level. I think it asks a little bit of the players to be storytellers, not just story consumers.
I was going to say, it feels like a beautiful gateway for players to maybe try their hand at running a game, like building a world, because it feels so much less daunting when you're involved in a collaborative process to be able to do that you can then step away and be like, these are the things that I learned from the people in my group, from my own game master, and now I can use that and maybe feel more comfortable in making my own thing, which is one of my favorite parts about Daggerheart specifically. Yeah.
We want to encourage people to step out and like not be afraid to GM, because one, we hope that the system is pretty streamlined in that like it gives our GM chapter is really robust, and everything is included in the one book, right? So we have like the entirety of chapter 3, I think, is the GM chapter, and we go through not only the mechanics of it, but like, how do you build a session? How do you build arcs? How do you build long-term campaigns? How do you? We have a whole...
It is chapter 3.
Thank you. Thank you. We have the whole section on like we give an example of like, hey, here's a bunch of characters and the backstories that the players came up with, and here's how you might decide to link all of those backstories together. Show you like how are we building a campaign out of the players, the characters that are at the table, because they are the protagonists. And so we found that when they feel like the protagonists, when they feel like the especially in this kind of game where they are the heroes, right? Like this is specifically a heroic role-playing game. So like they are the heroes of the story. They have more buy-in in trying to complete the mission or whatever they're doing because they care, and it's part of their backstory and it's part of what makes their character matter, right? Like the story hooks are all built around who those characters are and what they want and what's standing in their way.
Yeah.
That's kind of the big difference for me. And like the one thing I would recommend if you're running Daggerheart in a campaign is like really think about the way that your characters are going to impact how you as a GM inform the story of your campaign.
Which I think sets people up for success as well. If you have people who join your campaign who aren't in the session 0, who come later in the game, once you've created this system where the things that people come up with are included in the story, when someone joins late and they have that crazy idea, that first time energy, whatever it is, then it's easy to integrate because everybody is looking for ways to tie things together, not just the GM, because the story structure is supporting what the players are coming to the table with. And it is my hope that Daggerheart is designed to kind of take the burden of like knowing off of people. I find I tend to worry when I think I have to have a million things in my head when I go to a table, which I will admit is sometimes self-imposed. But if you come into a game like Daggerheart, and we hope we've set this up to say, if you say it, it is true. If a fairy is a praying mantis, a fairy is a praying mantis. If a fairy is a person with butterfly wings that's mostly a human, that is true. Then when a new player comes in and they say, well, my fairy is a scarab beetle, like, let's go, baby. We're in. So it creates hopefully it takes some lift off to the GM, but it also creates a welcoming atmosphere that can carry through no matter how you pivot.
I also think there's an element of the like players as storytellers that it does help when you do have someone joining the campaign, in that they show up and everyone is bought into the plot. You know, I think that what can be difficult sometimes in TTRPGs as a guest player is when you show up to a table and the GM is really into what they've created, but the rest of the table is at times interested or mildly interested, or at times on the, you know, like the more everyone is involved in the storytelling, I feel like for a guest player, you show up and everyone is very excited in where it's going because they have a hand on, you know, the rudder a little bit.
Yeah, we have a couple tools that we put in Daggerheart that I think put players' hands on the rudder, which are like the Mad Libs, as we call them.
Yeah, the Mad Libs are like one of my favorite pieces, and it's something that I've done for games for a long time. In just creating one-shot structure, and so there's a bunch of things in this game that like I'm really excited about being able to like. The sidecar is another one that I did. If you haven't seen the sidecar, it's like a tooltip thing that slides out on both sides of the character sheet. But like that's a thing that I have done for games for a long time, and like to canonize it in here is really cool. But yeah, the Mad Libs are something that I built a long time ago, and they are essentially, and they were in the open beta. So if you go look in that document, you'll see it in the one shot section. But like they give the GM the chance to make some choices on the back end about what kind of like story they want to tell. And if you use the one that's in there, it's kind of like, hey, here's an open thing. But like you can build your own Mad Lib so easily in this using that structure, which is like, okay, I'm interested in these kinds of stories for my table. And then it'll be like, I can't remember exactly what.
The adventure begins in the
right.
blank, and then the players will get to choose from the gentle village of Alondra or the tumultuous seas of some other name. And
not name things.
But by giving those options, then the players are like, well, do we want to start in like tumultuous seas or do we want to start in a cozy village? And now the GM's like, well, I liked both of those.
Yeah.
What's really exciting for us in the concept of CHARITYHEART, which is what we're here to get started, is we are going to be doing that. But for us, the Mad Libs is going to be with you, the audience. That's right. I'm looking in the lens. What's up?
What's up, chat?
Claire, you want to explain that, what we're doing?
Ooh, okay. So next month, we are all coming together, playing some Daggerheart to raise money for fire relief here in LA. There will be many more details coming on that shortly. We're not going to get into the nitty gritty of it, but we are very excited to tell you that we're doing a Daggerheart story that we are going to be building with you guys, the audience. Trying to think exactly what I can say about it.
Essentially, I'm going to be dungeon mastering the sessions. Each session is going to have a different team of adventurers that are all going to be joining in a world, and a team leader from each session will go to the finale for the final fight. Who they are fighting is going to be built through Tiltify, and the audience is going to be able, to donate and help us build a world, build bad guys, build all of these elements. There's going to be some faces from the world of Critical Role that are going to pop up. One of I can't say a lot about Tiltify yet. It's not live yet. But my favorite milestone goal is if we hit a certain amount, I am going to have to perform the finale as Matt Mercer in a full cosplay. So that's very exciting.
That's diabolical.
Very exciting. I cannot wait to try and find that wig. And so we
cosplayers, we're gonna be just fine.
We've played a lot of Daggerheart. We've got the 2 penultimate streams, and then we did a Donkey Kong adults only. That one was really rough. Great, so much fun, very inappropriate. The things I did to Mario, I'm so sorry. But
as long as Luigi's safe.
His name was Gooigi, and he was just very gooey.
You know?
Yeah. He died very violently.
Good time.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
One of the things that I've noticed in the Daggerheart we played online and offline is I really get so into the world building in it. And part of that is I'm very lucky that I mostly play with actors who are like are into storytelling naturally. But also that the way the card system works, it is a lot of telling you what the effect is, but it doesn't force how that happens. It's not like the spell components and things like that are not specified. And so when we were doing the Donkey Kong one, or Donkey Dong, for IP reasons, our friend Chris Tung, who's an incredible role player, turned all of his cards into gadgets as Funky Kong. And, his fly spell was a jetpack he would put on people. And because that's in the character from, the Nintendo games. And the way in which that played out and him creatively taking the cards and turning them into something else was really, really a joy of this game. And I think that there's the effects are so fun, but the freedom to kind of flavor them is such an open-ended question in Daggerheart that allows for these really wild character choices.
I'm just grinning. I'm like, that's exactly what we want. I mean, in one of the campaign frames in the book, which is called Motherboard, which the base premise is all magic is tech. And so the campaign frame says, if you have magic, you must reflavor it as tech. It's exactly what you described. What does that look like for your table? And what inspiration are you pulling on? How does this extend even to like a Dracana's magic breath? Like, do they have a piece of gear on their jaw? Like, how far can we push this? Where does your table want to land?
You have like a tooth you like punch down on it.
Yes. But even outside of campaign frames, just in like the character sheet itself, one of the examples that I like to give of people really getting to take ownership of that flavor is evasion. When we think of evasion, avoiding an attack, the most common thing we think of is like a person like coolly dodging out of the way. But all classes are going to behave differently. So your evasion just says, here's the number. How good are you at it in any given scenario? And so I say when I teach people the game, if you're a rogue, for example, you might very coolly dodge out of the way. If you're a guardian, you might not even dodge out of the way. You're just bulging biceps. We're like, haha, the arrow glances right off of you. And then if you're a wizard, you might throw up a magical shield at the last moment and have the arrow hit off and go away. No one said you had a magical shield, but no one didn't. And you have evasion. As long as you're playing by the rules, it didn't hit you, baby, go crazy.
Rowan, you keep bringing up campaign frames. You keep bringing it up. And Mike Underwood in the chat here, we are live. Mike
wrote one of our campaign frames.
Oh, that's interesting because he says clawing at the wall, waiting for the chance to talk about campaign frames.
Yes, make campaign frames.
Mike Underwood is one of our brilliant game designers.
So we're so excited because there's so many varied campaign frames, and Mike wrote a really amazing one called Five Banners Burning that is like very inspired by political machinations, like whether that's whether that's Game of Thrones or whether that's like Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? Like both of those exist in a really political kind of space, and so and the machinations of like how nations are clashing, and so we have hopefully a flavor for everybody, or at least something that interests everybody in some way. And so campaign frames, are the thing that we it's funny because campaign frames were developed out of a couple of different like steps. Like we originally were in like themes, and then we were in locations, and we kind of landed on campaign frames as like the thing to let people get started in the game.
And we landed on it way later than we would have liked in the process, and then knew it had to happen. And so the whole team like put the pedal to the metal, and like Mike Underwood, Sean Ellis, our brilliant concept artist, all just showed up to make it happen. Carlos Cisco, because once we hit it, we knew that was the answer. Because Daggerheart is, I like to say, it's like infinite opening doors. And it gives you just enough rules that you know where the hallway is, and then the whole way down it's doors, and you get to decide which one you go through. And because we're not giving people a base setting like we did in Candela, you're in the Fairlands. Campaign frames are our way of saying, here's the door to wherever you are, and how it functions, and then modifying it.
Yeah. And the cool thing about, we've kind of talked about this already in the panel that we did at PAX U, but like the campaign frames also have mechanics that change the way that you play. So like, you know, there's we talked about this again at the panel, like Age of Umbra was like, there's like a watch mechanic where like you have to have somebody keep watch while you're, because it's grimdark, you have to have somebody keep watch while you're resting, because if you don't, then bad things happen, right? More like I'm trying to think of the other one. Motherboard has the tech one has like an entire system of like scrap that you can make, like where you're like scrapping to like make things, and you're like collecting scrap that's coming off of the enemies that you defeat, and all those kinds of things. And so it's kind of the whole like new economy system that's built in there. And so we have all these variations that hopefully play into like the fantasy, the sub genre of fantasy that campaign frame is like guiding you towards.
Yeah. Kristen H has an analogy that people in the chat are enjoying. Give me a skeleton to put flesh on.
Disgusting. I'm here for it.
Yeah. I love it too.
Hear me saying that in the near future. Thank you.
As a big old Candela fan, give me a skeleton to put flesh on.
We talk about scaffolding a lot. Like we are building the scaffolding, and you then bring in the
just
dressing.
Construction skeleton.
It is. It's just the skeleton of a building. 100%.
It's like an exoskeleton. You know, you put it on the outside.
Yeah.
I have to walk under it constantly. I will say we do have to, give a moment to our corporate overlords and just remind you that there is an Age of Umbra miniseries that was recently announced, coming soon to Critical Role.
We had no idea Matt was going to announce it, so
I didn't know he was going to either. And then I was like, "Oh, cool, that's awesome."
Yeah.
I'm so excited for that to come out. Matt has such a flair for grimdark. He's so good.
Well, and you can tell he's just if you watch Campaign 3, you can tell he's obsessed with Souls games. Like the way just the way he builds boss fights in his games are the stages, and it's very Souls-like, which makes sense. I mean, we're all big gamers, right? But I love the flavor he brings into that. It's creepy and wonderful.
He's the one who like he's the one who was like so excited about. I hadn't played Elden Ring, and he was like, "You have to go play Elden Ring." So I did, and then also like we play a home game of Kingdom Death Monster. With a whole group of us, when to like remind ourselves that we love games, because sometimes when you're working in games, you feel like you are you just get in the monotony of like, okay, I have to go play games, and so it's a good reminder, like that we are. I think we posted about it before, but like Brennan and Abria and Erica Ishii and Matt and I will like we
really casually just dropping names. Just tossing them on the floor.
We'll play some Kingdom Death Monster, and that is like the most grimdark. I mean, it's so messed up. There's so many messed up things, and we just giggle and glee at it. So it's so cool to finally see. Like Matt was like, because I reached out and I was like, Matt, do you want to make a like grimdark inspired campaign frame? Is that something that you'd be interested in? I know that you're so busy. And he was like, I want nothing more. Yes, please. He turned around so fast.
When
he was
we
amazing.
were playtesting what became the final version of Armor, we went over to Matt's, and I came to the table, and he had all these Kingdom Death Monster minis out, and was like kind of setting everything up. And I was like, the minis, because they're beautiful. And I was like,
and horrifying.
I was like, Matt, why does everything have so many mouths? Like everything has so many mouths. And we were playing a game of Daggerheart that had nothing to do with the minis. The minis were all just horrifically disgusting. And then we were playing,
So, guys,
honestly, we're just trying to get the mechanics down. So
Yeah, of course.
that's
Here's fun.
One of the things that you guys have done with campaign frames is built that skeleton. I haven't had a chance to read the book yet. Is there something in the book
Read it right now.
about helping? Give me. I will live just sit here all day. Can't show you that. Can't show you that.
like a story.
No, it's better if you just sit silently and read it. Yeah, 100%.
Honestly, more TTRPGs need audiobooks.
I know.
Is there something, before we move on to that, I just wanted to ask, is there something in the book to about building your own campaign frames? Have you given any sort of a skeleton to build a skeleton?
So I think that one of the things that we haven't announced yet, but we're going to be releasing support content for this game. And we can't say exactly what that is yet, but in the book, we give lots of examples of campaign frames. And I think most people that read through all 6 of those will have a pretty good sense of how they would build their own. But we are working on things on the back end that can't be announced yet, but that are like in the works, that are designed specifically to do things like that in the space, right? Like guiding you on how to make stuff for Daggerheart. We have somebody waiting behind the camera to bring us.
Hello. Hello. I'm Sam. I also work here.
You work here?
I do. Hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stream. New York Times best-selling author, Sam X.
Oh my god.
You need to be introduced.
I paid him to do that significantly. Yeah.
We'll have your check in the mail.
Yeah, thank you so much. You guys need to follow me in Canadian. I'm very cheap.
Please in American, not exchange rate. Oh my god. Yeah, give me $6, I'll have $1 billion.
Well, one of the things we really wanted to do today, because you two are also reactors, you're not only, TTRPG players, we also do a lot of reaction content.
Yeah.
And we thought it might be pretty cool to have you guys react live to, we did wipe this down to get all the hair gel remnants. We did take care of that. But this is the deluxe edition of Daggerheart, and we kind of wanted to see what you guys feel about it. This is Elise. Yes. Elise is playing how to make this game.
There is Elise hype in the chat
for you. And I'm gonna leave now, but you guys get to look through this, and we're gonna watch you react to this.
Love it.
We love an unbox video.
We do. Yes. We love an unboxing.
When people say there are an army of producers on Daggerheart, what they're referring to is Elise Resendez, who is sitting right behind the camera. Elise and Madigan have been so fundamental in this process, but it's so funny because we're just like the 3-4 of us just sit in this room and make stuff. That is the whole process.
That stain is Spenser's tears.
That is my tears. Those are my tears.
I see it now. I see it.
Oh, good. No, I'm cool.
Sure, great, love it. Oh my god.
We've already bought this.
Yeah, we don't have it yet, but
soon.
Okay.
It's so
pretty.
This is the deluxe edition.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's heavy.
Thank you.
You guys really want to pay to ship this to Canada and not just give us this now?
Oh my god,
We'd be saving you
that is
money.
heavy. Yeah, right. Yeah. Can we just take it home?
Oh, yeah, you can hear the squelch of this hair gel.
I think that was the magnet, actually.
Canonically, hair gel comes with every
God.
limited edition box.
I'll
be the
You're supposed to be talking. I'm supposed to be holding.
I just want to touch it. Oh my god. Just touching
it. Okay, can we talk about this really quick?
Is this a DM screen?
This is a DM screen.
Oh.
Can I have this for a second?
Fine.
I have a PSA. I hate how tall most DM screens are. I don't need a 12-inch thing blocking the this is the height. This is the maximum height a DM screen should be. There's no reason for you to sit behind a DM screen that covers your chin when you're playing with your friends.
I think
you need a few inches.
This is how we play Dungeons and Dragons. But this is how we play Daggerheart.
I feel so strongly about this. I'm always looking for a short DM screen, and so this is perfect.
I'm also obsessed with the color scheme. Like, oh my god.
Oh my. Are you?
Oh, it's shiny.
You can't show dirt here, right?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, I wasn't sure.
Inside the book.
Look at this thing.
I think that's the demon.
That's a nightmare.
Light Thunder would designed the Demon of Despair really early in the concepting phase, and then Sean drew it, and all of us took psychic damage. Like,
it honestly looks like if Laudna had a worse ending.
Well, if the Demon of Despair stands up, I think it has a bunch of arms and like a black void inside of it.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So one of the things with the GM screen, like I notoriously like hardly ever use GM screens. I feel like they separate me from the players and make it seem like there's an imbalance there that I try really hard to dispel in most of the games that I play. And so I'll usually keep things under the table and then bring them up above the table as needed to be able to I'll have like a box and then I'll pull things out of the box. And so when we're making a GM screen, because I know that they're really useful, the place I found them really useful is when I'm running a game and I need rules immediately.
Yeah.
Right. And so when we were making this, it was really important to me that I operate without one. And I think that the less we have separating players from GM, less they're like hiding behind the screen, the better the experience is. So I'm really glad that it was the height that it was, because it's very helpful.
I know.
Oh my god, that's beautiful.
I opened it to this page and I was like,
Whenever
there's so much foil. There's like you're paying for gold and purple foil.
No, I love it. I love the shine.
Sorry, Rowan,
one of our graphic designers, Snow, was working on the domain continuum for us and was doing so many amazing drafts. And then somewhere kind of late in the game, we were just like, what if you just go crazy and do exactly what you want? And they came back with that domain wheel, and
so cool.
we had to stop everything we were doing and
take the day off.
bring that around the office like Simba. It was so beautiful. Oh yeah, actually,
did you guys have to pay Joe Manganiello for the likeness rights for that?
I actually can tell you exactly that story. Okay, so
I'm so sorry. I was like, oh hey, it's Joe Manganiello.
So A Star Is Born, the one with Barbara Streisand,
great movie,
formative movie for me. They're both so hot. Chris Christopherson and Barbara Streisand, and we needed like a hot daddy character on one of the cards, and I conveniently was liaising with the artist at that time, and I was like, hey Jenny, who's our brilliant artist, I was like, I need this hot daddy to be Chris Christopherson circa A Star Is Born, and sent her so many pictures, too many pictures. And Jenny played it very cool and turned it over, and
Sorry,
we're gonna go to a technical difficulty screen really quick.
Very flustered.
And that art came in at the same time that Bold Presence came in, which is by our artist Bear, and the By Panic was complete. And so it's Chris Christopherson circa A Star Is Born.
It really is amazing that there's 4 A Star Is Born movies, and each one is like By Panic. They've crushed it each time. It really is something.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But the domain continuum, Spencer, you designed this from the get.
Yeah. Oh, it's called the domain circle now. So we played with different ideas. No, it's okay. We played with different ideas of what it should be called, but I think we landed on it just being called the domain circle because it's the most straightforward. But essentially, it is a wheel that shows you how the classes and the domains relate. And this is something that was called for, this is something that I built back in the early days of Daggerheart when I was trying to figure out how all of these classes could relate to the domains. Because something I really liked was this idea of you had all these overlapping things. And so a lot of the game of early Daggerheart was like, if Rogue is here and that is Grace and Midnight, then what is Midnight and whatever the next domain is? Okay, maybe Sorcerer's, Midnight, and and Arcana, and then Sage and Blade. Sage and Bone are Ranger, and then Bone and Blade are Warrior, and then figuring out this whole thing was a goddamn nightmare. It was so scary. It was like trying to make sure that everything fit perfectly. And so I drew this 1,000 times on sheets of paper before. Thank you. On sheets of paper badly before anybody saw this thing, and then
when we first released the beta playtest, someone on Reddit posted a circle with it all laid out, and we're like, "You get it, you get it."
So I had drafts of this scrawled on pieces of paper for so long, and we were like, we just need to get a graphic designer to make this thing so that it's clear how this is happening. So we're really lucky that we were able to land on something that felt right for it.
One of the things about the domain circle that I immediately thought when we were playing the beta playtest is I'm like, oh my God, there's going to be so many cool like homebrew builds that are classes from things that aren't connected already, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of those interesting ways where unlike subclassing in other games or kind of the other ways in which you can build a character, there is already room for the homebrew here within the structure, again, within the skeleton. You can kind of put flesh on the way that you want.
What happens
I
if
can't
you
wait to
take
see what people do.
what happens if you take Blade and you take Codex and you combine them? Now all of a sudden you have like the foundation of a new class. You only have to make a couple of things and you're brand new class. And so, obviously internally we have like so many things we're excited to make in those cross domain areas that we haven't explored yet. And also we're excited to see what other people make. Like, what do they like to combine, right?
On the swords.
The swords.
So thank you for the pictures.
Yeah.
We're there's a drawer?
There's a drawer in the box.
Okay, well, let's get through the top drawer first. You also get just a crap ton of character sheets.
Yeah, there's lots of fun toys in there. There's character sheets, there's character builders, there's equipment sheets, there's the sidecar, there's the maps, which everybody goes around the table and fills around. Elise designed that.
Okay, this box is so sturdy.
Elise did that.
That's Elise. You did good work.
She's the best.
Oh! Okay, thank you. Can I ask, what is this? I've seen this art a lot now.
Yeah.
What is going on?
That's Dominic Mayer, baby.
What is the concept though of this like purple and gold and orange kind of idea? That's
Sure. Yeah. So when we were thinking about like, okay, how are we making the packaging for this game? We really, and you can see it on the standard edition too. Like, it is the game at its core is about duality, right? And the space in between. So like we have hope and fear, and then you have all the gradations of things that happen between their success and failure, and how all of those interplay together. It's a 2-axis game system. And so when designing the packaging, we really wanted to lean into that core mechanic for the game and represent it visually. So you see it there on the core, on the standard edition, with like sort of the sky being divided up between these two, hope and fear kind of feeling. And depending on how you see those, one could be hope, one could be fear, either way. And so and that's kind of the way the dice work, right? Like you get to choose what die represents what for your character and for you as a person. So we wanted to visually represent that on the box, and in the packaging as a whole. And so you see this like sort of divide between like the the yellow and the purple and that color scheme coming together in the way that we also see in the book. There's lots of yellow and purple.
Yeah, two different ways a moment could look.
We've got to open this though. We have to get in here. So if you want to get Elise, you got a good shot of this. Ooh. Oh, I thought it was just cards. What?
That's limited edition.
Oh, and that's all we have time for today.
Oh no!
Oh my gosh, that's crazy! Oh my gosh, that's crazy! That's crazy! Oh my gosh, that's crazy. This was an extra little bonus treat for today. We were mostly supposed to be talking about Charity Heart and Session 0, but I thought it would be fun to see the game and everything since it's already out there. But
Sam is saying that she's in trouble for letting us do this.
No, I'm not. I know it's all fine. It's all fine. But I just I want to make sure that we bring it back to Charity Heart and everything. Sure. We see. I just want to say, and it's almost been an hour, which is wild. This went by so fast. It went so fast. I just want to say thank you so much to the Roleplay Relay team for coming and for starting to work on Charity Heart and Session 0 for Charity Heart. Thank you to Spenser and Rowan for telling us all about how those Session 0s work. What is the greatest way to build that out for players who are potentially coming in and joining later in the stream? Like we're going to see during Charity
Heart.
We're
gonna have that. So stay tuned.
Absolutely. And stay tuned for more details on the event. Do you guys have any last words you would like to give our live crowd? Go for it.
I would just like to say thank you to everyone who is here watching live. Incredible. So many of our friends, so many of y'all's friends melding the stream here. We are a couple of final announcements just to bring back things we've already said in the stream. First of all, tonight, Critical Role. Don't forget to watch the first episode of Divergence as Brendan Lee Mulligan is bringing us back to the time just after Downfall, which was the time just after the other thing that he did. Brendan Lee Mulligan, really the historian of Exandria with those sessions. That's going to be at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Make sure that you enjoy that, and stay tuned for after that show's done. Matt Mercer's coming in with an Age of Umbra miniseries. Lots to get excited about. In March, you can see us here on the Darrington Press YouTube channel, as well as the Roleplay Relay YouTube channel and the Nerdy Nightly Twitch. It's going to be everywhere. We're going to be doing Charity Heart. It's going to be a bunch of sessions raising money for the fire recovery here in LA. So make sure you check that out. One thing I do want to say, if it's all right, we've been here all week. And it was our first time coming to the city since the fires, driving around, seeing our friends, seeing both the destruction and also just being so energized by the way in which the city of Los Angeles is coming together and rebuilding in the aftermath of everything that happened. It's been raining a lot this week, which definitely helps.
Yeah.
Good. Yes. We need it.
Yeah.
But it has been really incredible to experience just the spirit of the city in the wake of what has happened and the wonderful way people are coming together and being so kind and generous with one another. And so we are so excited to be a part of trying to help with that.
Yeah.
And we hope that you'll come watch Charity Heart. It's going to be a really fun show that you're going to build with us. Announcements coming soon.
Hell yeah.
Yay!
We did it! Yay!
It's our first live
I know, it's
ever
our first
on
live.
this channel.
Go put flesh on that skeleton.
Yeah.
That's got to be a shirt. Yeah. Here's a skeleton. Put flesh on it.
Bye.
And we need to figure out how to end this
Okay.
now. This
What
is
do
fun.
you do? What button
How
do
do
we
we?
press?
Oh, we just press the X.
This guy. Yeah.
This is fun. This
Yeah.
is fun and happening live.
Okay, bye.
Yeah.